All right, class, if you're seeing this as a recommended video, then it means that you missed a question on the quiz that has to do with proportions. And it could mean that you missed question 2 or question 3 or maybe both of those because they both relate to setting up proportions and doing both sample proportions and population proportions. So this first example that you see, and this is from the Unit 10 slides, so it was covered in seminar also, it tells us how many teachers are in the entire population. It says, suppose the school district has 2,480 teachers. So that's the size of the entire population. And it tells us that 1,786 of those teachers are satisfied with their job. So that if the part of the question asks us to calculate the proportion of teachers, and y'all think of just proportion as like a portion, a percentage. So when it asks us to calculate the proportion of teachers in the entire district, so in the entire population, who are satisfied with their job, then we would calculate that, and that's the symbol P for the population proportion, by just realizing that 1,786 out of the total 2,480 teachers are satisfied. And you would just grab a calculator and put that in, make sure the top number goes in first. 1786 divided by 2480 in my calculator. Just be careful. I think a lot of these want you to round to the thousandth place or to 3 decimal places. So the number in the third place is 0. And when I look to the right, there's a 1, which means to 3 decimal places, I have to put 0.720. That's the population proportion. But then it says, suppose from a sample, so you just really have to look out for the wording, of 120 teachers that 84 were satisfied. Well, that's a sample proportion, so that's a p hat. And I put 84 divided by the 120, put that in the calculator, and when I do that, I get 0.7. But if you have to round it to 3 decimal places, you would have to put the extra zeros there. And then thirdly, it's going to say, does your sample appear to be representative of the population? Well, certainly the sample size seems big enough. It was 120 teachers for the sample size. But they also, on this question, want you to compare the two numbers. And it's kind of hard to give you a definite answer. I think this part C is a little vague. But just use the guidelines of, if these seem relatively close to you, I mean, 0.7 and 0.72 seem very close. There's only a 0.02 difference. Then you would say the sample does appear to be representative. But if we had gotten something like, say, 0.72 and then 0.6 something, then you would want to view that as a large enough difference that it does not appear like the sample is representative. So I felt like that was a little bit vague, but, definitely if the sample size appears large enough, then at least just go and compare the two numbers and see if they seem relatively close or not. These do. So for this one, I would say, yes, the sample appears to be representative. But like I said, if you got something like 0.72 for the population and 0.65 or 66 or something like that for the sample, then you would say it does not appear to be representative. But this is just how you do the population proportion and the sample proportion. It might also, if you got this suggested video, might also mean that you missed question 3, which is a similar topic with population proportions and sample proportions, but it's a little bit of a different setup for that one. So let me pull that one up. That would be, we covered an example of that in the Unit 9 slides. So here are the Unit 9 slides. Move this over here. All right, so let me find the one that you might have missed with that. Okay, so here it is. All right, so question 3 from the quiz, if you missed this one, is something similar to this. It gives you a sample size. It says the company selects a random sample of 240 customers. That's the total in the sample. but from a total list of 3,556 regular customers. That's how many total customers there are in the entire population. So what's going on here is that we have a sample of size 240 and a population of size 3,556. Well, we only know that within the sample, 151 customers were satisfied. So the 151 is based out of the sample size of 240. But based on that, we want to estimate how many total regular customers are satisfied, meaning total customers is in the entire population. So that's why we just set the sample proportion equal to the population proportion, and we're going to solve for X, which is the total number of customers who are satisfied. And then all you do to solve this problem, this equation, is to cross multiply. So you see that I did 240x right down here. If you look to the left, 240x by multiplying that way, put the equal sign in the middle, then multiply this number times this number. That's where the big number is coming from. And then just solve the equation. So with that, you're just going to divide both sides by 240. Let me put this in the calculator. 136. All right. And for this, I get 2,237.3 something. But in this case, you're not trying to determine sample size. You're just trying to determine number of customers who are satisfied. So use normal mathematical rounding on this one. Do not necessarily round up. In this case, it's a 0.3. So I would actually round down to this many total customers. There are going to be other problems where we have to always round up, but that's not this type of problem. That would be a type of problem where we're trying to determine what size of a sample we need. Well, that's not what this is asking for. So just keep in mind this particular question 3 on the quiz, you'll follow normal mathematical rounding. And this setting up this proportion where you cross multiply is the way that you'll want to set that one up.